Hello, welcome to Biology for You. In this video, we are going to discuss Sanger's method. Basically, this Sanger's method is the type of DNA sequencing technique, and in the series of videos, we have been discussing different methods in DNA sequencing techniques. So, this Sanger's method is one of the basic method of the DNA sequencing, belongs to first generation DNA sequencing techniques, and this Sanger's method is developed in the year of 1977 by the scientist called Frederick Sanger. This is also known as chain termination method. Here, generally, in the Sanger's method, we are going to use chain terminators, and these chain terminators are nothing but the nucleotides which are lack of the oxygen moiety at their 3' base structure. That means they differ from the normal nucleotides that are deoxynucleotides from the lack of this oxygen moiety. So because of the lack of this oxygen, they cannot make phosphodiester bond with the succeeding nucleotide. That means they can enter in the synthesizing strand, but they cannot proceed the synthesis thereby. So here, generally in the Sanger's method, here we are going to make single strands of the DNA from the double strand. That means double stranded DNA will be denatured into single strands, and the single strand is allowed to make complementary strand synthesis. So during the synthesis of this complementary strand, we are going to use these chain terminators or DDNTPs. So that means these dideoxynucleotide trisephosphates can enter the synthesizing DNA, but due to lack of this oxygen moiety, they cannot further proceed the synthesis. So once after they enter into the DNA chain, thereby the synthesis of the complementary strand will totally stop. So thereby they produce different lengths of fragments based on the type of dideoxynucleotide triphosphate that is used. So here different lengths of DNA fragments will be formed, and all these will be separated on the Zell electrophoresis, and the banding pattern will be obtained based on the 4 types of DDNTPs that we are going to use in this method, and these banding pattern will helps us to understand the DNA sequence of the strand that we are going to sequence. So that is the basic principle of the Sanger's method. That means here these chain terminators are added, and the synthesis of newly complementary strand will be stopped, and different lengths of fragments will be obtained. So they will be separated in the Zell electrophoresis, and the banding pattern obtained will be helpful us to determine the sequence of the DNA. So that is how the Sanger sequencing will be carried. So coming to the detailed procedure of the Sanger sequencing, here first we need to isolate the DNA. So to do anything with this sequencing, first we need to have DNA in our hands. This DNA could be isolated directly from experimental organism, and we can clonally propagate it into vectors, and we can also directly take a gene from the vector to sequence or part of gene, and also we can take DNA from the PCR product, one of the PCR product, like that. Any source we can be that can be used. So but the DNA should be in its pure form. So that is what isolation is. And secondly, we need to digest the DNA, the length of DNA that is taken for sequencing into small processable fragments. So this fragmentation will be carried with the help of restriction enzymes. So thirdly, we need to denature the fragments. That means each and every fragment need to be denatured into single-stranded DNAs. So here the alkaline treatment will be given to break the hydrogen bonds present between the double strands, make them into single-stranded DNAs. So the next step is the labeling. Here during the labeling procedure, all single-stranded DNA fragments will be labeled at their 5' ends with the P32 radioisotope. So here this P32 radioisotope will be attached or added onto the DNA fragments by the help of two enzymes. One is phosphatase. This enzyme phosphatase will break the phosphate, and this will remove the already existing phosphate moiety in the 5' end of the DNA. And the second enzyme is polynucleotide kinase. So this polynucleotide kinase is an enzyme responsible for the addition of radioisotope labeled phosphate to the 5' end of the DNA. So with the help of these phosphatase and polyantikinase, we can label the DNA fragments with the radio label like P32. So due to the labeling, it helps us to visualize the fragments during the following process in the Zell electrophoresis. So that is what labeling is important for. Coming to the next step is the PCR amplification. Here generally all these fragments, labeled fragments, which are going to be sequenced, will be separated into this DNA, single-stranded DNA that is labeled with the radio label will be. So this reaction mixture is separated or partitioned into 4 reaction tubes. And 1, 2, 3 and 4. For each reaction tube, we are going to add common PCR ingredients for its amplification. So here we have single-stranded DNAs which need to go for complementary strand synthesis, and during the complementary strand synthesis only we can have a DNA sequence. So here the PCR ingredients that are commonly added onto every reaction tube are template, that means the ssDNA, and Taq polymerase, primers, and some Mg2+ ions like that. Whatever may be the common ingredients for the PCR reaction, we are going to add them. And here all are added, DNTPs are also added, and along with the DNTPs we are going to add these DDNTPs. So here at this point we are going to discuss what is the difference between DNTP and DDNTP. We already discussed this. DDNTP is having So let us consider it as a nucleotide which is having base at the 1' and OH at the 3' and so at the 5' position there is a CH2OH group, and here there is a phosphate group. So this is the DNTP structure. That means deoxynucleotide. Here the oxygen is removed, so it is deoxy. The 2' oxygen is no more available, so it is called deoxynucleotide triphosphate, which are the building blocks of the DNA. So coming to the DDNTP, that means dideoxynucleotide triphosphate, which don't have the oxygen moiety and instead it has hydrogen. So here it cannot proceed the further phosphodiester bond. So this phosphodiester bond is no more possible, and here it terminates the DNA synthesis. So that is the difference of the DDNTP and DNTP. And coming to the addition of DDNTP, we are going to add DNTPs and DDNTPs in 100:1 ratio, and these are not common for all tubes, but here to the first tube we may add DDATP, to the second tube we may add DDGTP, to the third tube we may add DDCTP, to the fourth group we may add DDTTP. So like that 4 kinds of DDNTPs are added to the 4 different reaction mixtures. So the PCR reaction will be carried, the DNA will be synthesized, and in the reaction tube 1, wherever it found the wherever it need to be added a adenine triphosphate, that means this DDNTP need to be added, there is a chance of termination. That means here the chain will be terminated at every position of the adenine base. So in the sequence of the DNA, wherever we find ATP, DATP, there is a chance of chain termination to produce different lengths of the fragments. So in that way, in every tube, in the second tube, there is a chance of termination event at every GTP, and due to the presence of DDCTP, there is a chain termination will happen in the third tube as well as fourth tube. Because of this T nucleotide, there will be a chance of chain termination at every thymine position. So here, if we have a sequence like this, GATC, GATC, G. So if we have a simple sequence like this, in the first reaction tube, the fragments, the termination may be like this. If GATCGA, so these are the products will obtained from the reaction tube 1. And in the reaction tube 2, the chain will be terminated at guanine nucleotide. That means the possibility of the fragments obtained will be similar to this. So these 3 kinds of fragments will be obtained from the reaction tube 2. And To the reaction tube 3, the fragments will be, so specific towards C it is, so here the obtained fragments will be GATC, 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 and in the fourth reaction tube GAT, GATC, GAT. So these two are the possible fragments obtained from the reaction tube 4. So in the next step, once after this PCR amplification is carried, these all products will be produced, and in the next step, following step, gel electrophoresis is carried. So during this gel electrophoresis, these 4 reaction mixtures are loaded onto the 4 reaction mixtures will be loaded onto the 4 wells present in the gel. So here the first reaction mixture is specific towards A, G, C and T. So the banding pattern will be the smallest possible fragment will reach the bottom, and the top where there will be the largest possible fragment. So here the banding pattern may be like this. So first one is G, that is at second well, and in the second possible shortest fragment is GA, that might be occurred in the well 1, third, fourth, fifth, so this is the banding pattern that we can obtain from a sequence similar to this. So here this is the shortest fragment, and in the second well we have a band over here. So here it indicates the G, and here it indicates A, T, C, G, A, T, C, G. So from bottom to top we need to read the sequence, and this sequence is not the strand of the sequence that we have taken for the experiment, but this will be the complementary sequence that is synthesized during this process. So the sequence of original strand will be complementary to the what we obtained in the gel electrophoresis. That means the sequence of original strand will be C, T, A, G, C, T, A, G, C. So this is the sequence of the original strand that we have taken in this step, first step. So likewise we are going to have sequence in the Sanger's method.